If you're like me, a creative person who focuses mostly on characters but have a very difficult time with backgrounds and perspective, well, Adobe Illustrator has your new tool that's going to really help you out. It's called the Perspective Grid tool. And there's actually two tools in here. We have our grid and we also have the Perspective Selection tool. The difference is the Perspective Grid tool will enable a grid on our document, and the Perspective Selection tool allows us to select artwork on the grid and move it around, and the artwork will remain in perspective. We can also drag artwork from a different application, for example, an image, a Photoshop file, or anything that you bring into the grid, and it will drag it and put it into perspective. It's really quite amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Perspective Grid tool, and right away we see two new things appear. We have a grid, and we see our vanishing points going off into the distance. We also have this guy here, which is called a perspective widget. With this widget, we can choose the plane that we want our artwork to latch onto. As you can see, the blue one is selected, so if we were to create artwork, it would go here on this plane and vanish off this way. Likewise, if we click on this one, it corresponds to the orange, and the artwork will go off in this direction, and of course it will go this way and get larger. And we have this one as well. So we have these three planes that we can choose. So let's go ahead and experiment with this. And what I'm going to do is actually bring in artwork from a different Illustrator document. So let's go to File, New, and let's create something like a quick logo. So let's grab a star, and we'll give it a color. All right, we'll give it a nice stroke. I'll give it a purple stroke, and we'll give it a thicker point line here. Let's also go and grab our type tool and type Star Records. All right, so we're going to make believe we have a record label called Star Records. And I'm going to change this to something a little thicker. So let's choose something like my world famous font that I love so much, Impact. All right, and we're also going to take that text and change the color of it to a very dark blue. So this will be our fake little logo. And I'm also going to grab the rectangle tool and draw out a little box underneath it like so. And maybe just one more. All right, so that's our logo for today. I'm going to go ahead and select all this with the selection tool, and we're going to go to Object, Group. All right, so this is our logo. Let's go ahead now and copy this. So we're going to go to Edit, Copy. Let's head back into our other document with our grid, and let's enable one of the grids here. So I'm going to grab on the orange one. Okay, so let me grab my Perspective Selection tool, click on this guy right here, and then we're going to go to Edit, Paste. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to literally click on our star, and right away it latches on to the grid. And if I move it way back here, and even over here, it remains in perspective the whole time. It really is an amazing tool, and it will be quite difficult to do this using just the perspective distortion tools that we have. We can even scale things up. Just click on the corner. If you want to keep things constrained, hold down the Shift key. Just like you do in real life. Hold down Shift key constrains things, and we can move it down here. We can even duplicate this by pressing the Alt or Option key and clicking on our object, and we can duplicate this all the way down the line. I'll make one over here too. As you can see, this is going to be a game changer, especially for people who are perspective challenged like I am. You can click on things with the Perspective Selection tool and delete them, as you see here I'm doing. And if you want to change anything, just double click on your artwork, and you'll enter the isolation mode, and you can change the color of things. So if I can change the color of the star to orange or whatever I want to, I can change my text if I double click on that. So I can change the color of my text. Let's make that green. I'll go back out of isolation mode. So you still have the functionality that you'd have normally, but everything this time is simply on a grid. So it's a really amazing tool. Let's talk more about the perspective tool in the next part.